Coach Roy,
Yes.
karibu hapa Mtembee
Asante.
TV.
Asante
Yes.
kwa kunikaribisha ndani ya hii TV kubwa.
Karibu sana. So tungetaka ujiintroduce kwa watazamaji ambao wanajua, wengine hawakujui, wengine wanakujua.
Ndio. Aha, so dunia inaniita Coach Roy. My full name is Roy Okonji. I am a debt and money management coach, life coach, corporate trainer, and published author. Hiyo inamaanisha I am a teacher, only that I don't teach in the school of academia. I teach in what I call the school of life. The school of life is a gathering like what we have now, where we come together to reflect on the realities of life on the ground. Unajua ile story ya kwa ground vitu ni different.
Yeah.
There are some things you will learn in the school of academia. However high you go, there are certain things that can only be learned in the school of life through conversation, such as what we are here to talk about tonight. So largely that is what I do. I also run something very unique called the Debt Clinic. The Debt Clinic is an arrangement where I sit one-on-one with people, listen to them, those who feel that they have been pushed to some corner by financial struggles, or those who just want to have a conversation on how they can better manage their money. So I get to meet them one-on-one and listen to them, encourage them, try to help them figure out a few things here and there. So that's what I do at the debt clinic. So when I'm not training, when I'm not speaking, when I'm not meeting people one-on-one, huwa nimekaa chini trying to write a few things here and there. By the grace of God, I have published 6 titles. The 7th one should be out in a couple of weeks to come. Labda towards the end, we will mention some of those titles that I've been able to publish. So I love money conversations. Mimi huamka nikifikiria pesa. I spend the entire of my day thinking about money, talking about money. And I am glad that you are having me tonight to just think and talk about money as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Wakenya wamekuwa kwa mandeni sana. Basically tukianzia the country itself, sahii tunasikia tuko na almost 11 trillion, ndio tunaelekea huko, meaning each
Yeah.
and every Kenya na ako na ndeni ya over 200,000. So Wakenya sasa, tukikuja kwa Mkenya wa kawaida, people sijui ni kushindwa kumanage pesa ama ni nini, but watu wako kwa mandeni sana. So hiyo ndio nataka uongelelee. I don't know utaanza wapi, utamalizia wapi, but we the expert on that matter.
All right. Thank you. Let me begin by saying, kwa hii society yetu, it's unfortunate that we rarely talk about money. We will talk about very many other things, lakini ikifika stories za pesa, we rarely talk about money. Very few people, those that are watching us, those that will watch us in the days to come, very few people can confirm that their parents sat them down wakawafundisha mambo ya pesa. Very many of us started guessing through life. Siku ile tulianza kufanya kashughuli, do ikaanza kuingia, so we started guessing. Unapitia hapa, unakumbuka hauna unga, unanunua unga, unakumbuka hauna hii, unanunua. Then after 2 days, 3 days, hiyo pesa imeisha, you still have 27 days looking at you if you are employed. Ama kama wewe ni msewa biz, hiyo profit imeisha, you don't know when next you'll get another one. Alafu sasa unajikuta kwa mataa. Largely because we do not talk about it. So there's a big point of ignorance on the part of very many people. I know my story has been in the public space for a very long time. When I got employed, just like many people, no one talked to me about money. I am a former banker, and I remember very clearly when I got the first job in the mainstream banking, no one talked to me about money. The closest HR came to talking to me about money was when I was doing documentation. Ile time ya kupeana hizo ma NHIF, what. So during that time, the HR who was handling my paperwork, I remember she told me that when you will be confirmed, you will qualify for a loan. So unajua, I don't know a loan for what, but my mind has already been prepared that I will qualify for a loan. True to it, when that day came, I did not disappoint. After being confirmed, I did not disappoint. I borrowed everything I could qualify to borrow at that particular time. Now, I did what many people would do. Pesa ikishafika kwa mkono, that's when you ask yourself, hii do nifanyie nini? Like I like saying in my classes, your mind will never let you down when it comes to answering that question. Ati hii do nifanyie nini? So in a very short span of time, hiyo do nilikuwa nimemaliza. All right, actually 4 days to be precise. So I had finished the money. What I didn't know is that I had just signed my first ticket to financial struggle. After 30 days, deductions were started. Hapo ndio nikagutuka, haya, kumbe ilikuwa loan. Unajua wasee wengi wakienda kuchukua loan au wafikiriangi ni loan. At that time it even looks like a gift. Ukiona venye wasee ubehave na hiyo do ni kama nika gift fulani msee wamewapatia. All right? So, after deductions, it became clear that the remaining amount I'm going to struggle before I can be able to join end month to the next end month. But I did not stop there. Before long, I was reminded that in the next few months, I will also qualify for a car loan. Gari mse, gari. Nothing interests a young man like the thought of driving their own car. In a tiny town, I was in a very small town, a town that had about 20 vehicles, I like saying. So the thought that I'll be the one to bring the 21st car in this town crowded my mind. So every time nikiamka nakumbuka tu, mimi ndo nitaleta latest registration, the 21st vehicle in this town, ni mimi naingiza. True to it, when that time came, I did not disappoint again. On the 24th of July at 7 p.m. that particular year, niliingia na latest registration siku hiyo. Nilikuwa na feel tu wanialau ni hoot, unajua hiyo excitement. So nikaland na machine, mazee nilikuwa nasikia poa. But little did I think about hii gari itakuwa inafueliwa na nini, hii gari itakuwa inatoa wapi insurance, hii gari itakuwa inasavisiwaje. I didn't want to know about that. I borrowed because I qualified. The problem with very many people is that they are what I call ability-driven borrowers. Wao borrow pesa kwa sababu wako na ability. And that is why many lenders will like sending SMSs to people. Kuambia, you can now qualify for this because they know human weakness. The average human being will not say no to an invitation to borrow. All right? So I simply did that because I qualified. And of course, nilisikia poa. The number of necks that were breaking, looking around to see who is this new entrant. Hii gari ni ya nani? Hizo necks zilikuwa zinanifurahisha. But if you ask me, the truth is that I don't think I needed the car at that time. You know why? I used to stay 2 minutes walking distance from the office. 2 minutes. Mbili hivi. So, hiyo gari ilikuwa ya. Okay, so kutesa nikatesa and I felt nice, but then I kept plunging into trouble every other time because after deductions za gari kulod, now I have 2 loans. So it was clear that the remaining amount cannot sustain me from end month to end month. That was clear. So nikaanza kufanya what everyone was doing in the office, that is borrowing from a colleague here and another colleague here, ndio end month ifike, alafu unao promise end month ikifika nitawasort. Okay, so before you know it, umeshatuma watu wengi hiyo end month, hata wameshinda hiyo salo, because kila msee anafikiria ni yeye peke yake. So I come to you na kuambia nidunge thao mbili, thao tano, alafu end month. So unanipea ukijua you are the only one. Huyu mwingine ananipea kijua yeye pia ndio peke yake. But end month ikifika niko na headache because our say wote wameconverge, wamekujia do yao. All right, and I have said many times these days, and you might help me to observe, end month has become one of the most stressful days for very many people, especially those that are employed and even those that are in business. Ile time do yao huingia is usually very stressful for very many people because hiyo siku wametuma wasee wengi huko, do ikifika nitakusort, do ikifika nitakusort. Right? So I started doing that, and then I realized that that was not even taking me far because Many of my colleagues were operating on the same budget curve. Chances were high nikiwa broke hata hao wako broke. So ushaona ile design, unaenda kwa msee akupatie do, unampigia story yako, unamaliza, anakuambia kaa chini nikupatie yangu, anakudunga story yake, unasikiza, you're like, una feel hata ungemlend, ungekuwa na do ungempatia, na ni wewe uliendea do. So that was not going to be sustainable, and that is how I got introduced to Shylock borrowing. Msee, unajua wale jamaa wanafaa kuwa wa ruthless. Wale jamaa ukidelay na pesa yao by 1 hour, kama ulikuwa umepatia asset yako for security, inakuwa imepotea, right? So that is how I got introduced to Shylock borrowing, and I borrowed from Shylocks religiously, month in, month out. I'm sharing this story because I know kuna wasee wengi wana watch, watawatch, and chances are high that they are making the same blunders I made. Chances are high that probably they're going through the same thing that I went through back in the day. Right, so nikaanza story sasa ya Shylock. Month in, month out, religiously without fail. When I look back, there is no single month that I did not borrow from those guys. Thank God then, easy stories are mobile lending and what have you had not come, because kama zingekuwa, story ingekuwa different, right? But you see, it is just the same thing, because easy my apps is just a graduation of those guys, right? Ni Shylock wameomoka. Okay, so I started the journey with those guys, my friend. Now, unajua those guys, there is a way they weaken your financial muscle, because the interest they charge is very high. The money you are borrowing from them is for consumption largely. Si ati kuna gorofa nilikuwa najenga ama kitu serious ile ati tunaweza angalia sahi tuseme this is what I was doing. So it was just purely money for consumption, and that is another blunder now, because many people are borrowing to consume. Sadly, even as a country today, the reason why we keep plunging and plunging and plunging is because we are borrowing for recurrent expenditure. When we go to borrow, we lie that we are borrowing for development, okay? But when the money is in our hands like this, hiyo ndio do utasikia imelipa sijui mishahara za kina nani, sijui nini, sijui imefinance deficit ya budget na vitu kama hizo. Largely, even as a country, we are borrowing for consumption, and that is our biggest blunder again. So nikafanya hiyo story, nika sink. So fast forward, after a few transfers here and there, a promotion hapa na pale, I found myself in Nairobi. Now help me to understand, if I was struggling in a tiny town, katown kadogo unaweza enda kwa neighbor kuchunia sukuma wiki, saa zile uko broke, how much more struggle awaited me in Nairobi, you can imagine. So nilipofika hapa, mazee, struggle zangu zika expand. My borrowing intensified. I borrowed and borrowed and borrowed silly. There is a gift that God has given me that I abused, and that is the gift of trust. So it is very easy for people to trust me, and that gift needs to be used in other positive ways. But now I used that gift to get money easily. And there are people I would call, and they would give me big amounts of money with no paperwork, right? Because unaongelesha msee anasema, I've never done this before, but venye una sound, unaweza aminika. Hivo. So I ended up borrowing from multitudes. So one afternoon, a G4S guy walks into my office. Msee amebeba gift pack, imerapiwa vizuri. Okay, the last time I had seen a similar gift pack was during my wedding. Zile mazawadi za wedding zile. So the guy brings it to me and tells me that it's mine. So I look at it, nikaambia msee simama hapo, kama si yangu urudi nayo, because I was doubting. So nikafungua. The first thing I saw was a thank you card. This thank you card is coming from one of those Shylocks. You can imagine Shylock akae chini amwe tunataka tuandikie msee thank you card. But the box was still heavy, right? And so nikafungua tena, nikapata a very expensive, nicely carved elephant trophy. right? So you can imagine Shylock ameamua kuspend. And those guys, the way they are mean, the way they look mean, they act mean, for a Shylock to sit down and say, said tuende, tumrecognize, tuende tununue, atake time yake, tuende tununue trophy, kitu expensive, tuweke pesa yetu hapo, tumrecognize, right? So, and that's why many times you'll hear me say that I am the only award-winning borrower this side of the world because of that trophy that I hold. And that trophy is very relevant in my story because the day I received it is the day my eyes opened. Nikajiuliza, haya, you mean I'm getting awarded not for any other thing, but for borrowing? Not even from the banks, but from that other market. By this time, I had already exhausted my borrowing limits from any formal institution. Right, so the day I received it is the day my eyes opened. Okay, so I started asking myself, ndaendelea hivi mpaka lini? So that's the time I started getting conscious about my financial story. That's the time I started looking for books to read about money. That's the time I encountered my good friend Robert Kiyosaki and started reading his things and started reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and started writing to him so that he can send me any book he had on debt. He didn't have any book on debt management. He doesn't have to debt, but he had some articles he had written. So he forwarded me some articles. Most of them zilikuwa zinaongelea stories za western countries, so they were not applicable to my Kenyan situation, right? But they gave me an idea here and there, so I started trying things here and there. And when I look back, I do not regret, because the things I was trying form part of the content that I used to converse with people about money management. Okay, so it was important I went through that journey. But I don't want you to go through that journey because it's not a very interesting journey. It is not. It is not a journey you will wish for anyone else. Hata kama ni adui yako. Financial struggles, my friend, are not things you want to wish for anyone. So then I started my journey of recovery, pole pole. By that time, I had discovered my gift in speaking and inspirational works, but I had not figured out my role as a financial speaker or trainer at that particular time. I was a contemporary motivational speaker, just speaking about hope and just encouraging people in general. But then every time I would look at my story, I would keep on asking God, so what is the relevance of my exposure to debt? Because even in the banking space, all the places I have served, all the branches I've served, and all the units I've served, I have served in the credit department. And that, when I look back, I see the relevance of the same, because then it gives me a better understanding of how debt works from all angles. Because I have sold debt, so I know how debt is packaged nicely so that you guys can want to borrow even when you don't need the money. I have processed debt, so I've looked at your pay slips and wondered how you would be surviving with a pay slip that looked like that. I have wondered why you've come to the bank. We have told you the loan will take 1 week to be ready, and after 1 hour you are calling to see if a miracle has happened. And then I've been a relationship person with SMEs. So I've also worked with SMEs. I've worked with SMEs. And that's why even as I teach about debt and debt management, I do not necessarily just talk about the bad side of debt, because I know it is possible for people to blossom using other people's money, and especially the guys in business. So I have journeyed also with business people. I have seen small businesses become big businesses because of using other people's money. But I've also seen huge ones collapse because of mismanagement of borrowed funds. So it can go either way, all right? And then I've been a debt collector. So nimevaa ile sura pia. I have raided homes. I have chased after money. I've made those phone calls. Wale wase wamechukua do za hizi apps. Wao hujua venye hizo calls zo come, right? So I've been that person. And it is during that time that I started encountering the realities of debt on the family unit. And that's why many times utanipata pia niko very passionate about the family unit, because I have seen it firsthand the effects of the trap of debt on the family unit, right? But largely that I use when I'm training couples and just walking them through something I call enhancing financial intimacy in marriage. Hiyo conversation ingine pia mzito, because stories za do in a family setting ni story watu wengi utaka kuzichorea. Right, so in a nutshell, you begin to see why I get very enthusiastic, very passionate when I start talking about money, because it is a journey I have traveled myself, and especially where debt is involved. And throughout my own journey, I pick so many lessons, so many blunders that I made. When I look back, if I were to reset the hands of the clock, there are things I wouldn't do, right? I would approach life differently, but it was necessary I went through it so that you do not have to go through it if you're listening to me, because I've been through that prison and I know how difficult life is in that prison. And I also know how it is not very easy to break free from the prison. It is doable. Otherwise, we would not be here talking about this. But the fact that I'm here speaking to you means that you can also speak about your story in future, right? So, nikirudi kwa vijana, because you mentioned them, a few things are happening in the life of the young person, the young Kenyan, right? One, like I mentioned, there is lack of information, or tumeishi tu hivyo, tumeculturewa kwamba we really don't talk about money. So hata ukisikia wase wakiitisha kimkutano ke kuongelea pesa, you don't want to go because everyone feels they know how to manage their own money. Okay, and so sometimes your ignorance in a play part kubwa, because you will end up spending your money wrongly. You will end up investing your money wrongly if you ever try to invest. You will end up spending everything you have, and it will not even be enough to take you from one income point to the next income point, and that is when the struggles of debt begin to come in. You will end up borrowing for consumption. Borrowing for consumption is deadly. You see, when you borrow to consume, you are speaking two things to the world. Number one, you are telling the world that you are not able to live within your means. Okay? And by the way, when we say live within your means, we are not telling you to be comfortable with where you are and remain small. We are simply telling you that it is important for you to be ambitious, for you to dream big, but you must expand your means before you live in them. So challenge kubwa ya vijana pia ni kwamba they want to expand their their living standard, and then they hope that one day a miracle will happen and their means will expand and come and accommodate them. So mara nyingi unapata tuna jump the gun, tunaenda ahead of time. So we will start living in a house that truly does not cannot be supported by our current income. We will start wanting to drive when truly, if we were to be true to ourselves, we are not fit for driving, right? And that's why many times ukijikuta uko na gari na time unataka kuingia kwa hiyo gari unaanza kujiuliza, sijui leo niende nayo ama nisiende nayo. Stories za fuel zinaanza kukula kichwa, ujui ufulize ama sijui ufanye nini ndio uende. Just know, probably you acquired that thing before time. So vijana wengi pia wako na pupa. They want to achieve things without the process, right? Wanataka vitu zi happen pap. So leo unaamka unakutana na mimi, unaona gari niko nayo, you don't know anything about my story, you do not know anything. Lakini ukirudi kwako kesho unataka gari better than that or a similar car. So unakutana na mzae amefanya kazi miaka 30, unamuona na gari yako nayo, unasema mazee, hii gari ndo goals. So wewe unaingia kwa bank the following day, you use the entire ability you have to buy that machine. You have no clue what it will take to maintain it. You have no clue where you will get money for fuel na story kama hizo. So hii idea ya vijana kutaka kuishi life ya YOLO, you know, those stories are you only live once. I keep asking them every day, why are you still here? Yesterday you told me you only live once. Why are you here today? If you are living once, so ungepita jana uishie. You know, tomorrow usually does come, and many times it comes to haunt you. It comes to ask you questions. Why did you go ahead of time? Why did you go? Why did you jump the gun? Why did you start doing this when you ought to have waited? So those are part of the problems that mavijana watajikuta nayo. Of course, stories of mentorship pia is key. One, there could be lack of mentorship, but also there could be lack of willingness to be mentored. Unajua siku hizi kuna crop fulani ya vijana pia kuwakalisha chini uambie story fulani ni ngori. Unacheki. So even when you would start telling them something, they would tell you to keep your unsolicited advice to yourself. All right? Wangoje mpaka siku ile wanaanza kuburn fingers, and I meet them in large numbers. Saa zile wameanza kuburn fingers. And then because of the urge to want to achieve things very fast, vijana pia ujikuta wameanza kuingia kwa stories zile huwachanganya sana, make even the problems even serious. Story kama za gambling, for example. Unajua gambling, vijana wengi huiona kama a shortcut for them to achieve the things they want to achieve. Just because someone has promised them some jackpot. So kila msee anaona hiyo jackpot ni yake, hiyo jackpot ni yake. The truth is, tangu stories za gambling, betting and what have you zianze, ukiangalia zile jackpots kubwa kubwa, watu wameziwin over the years. Tangu hizo stories zianze hawajafika 50. So one thing that few gamblers realize is that the chances of the owners of the gambling system to make profit are certain, but the chances of the gamblers to win are uncertain. That is just clear. And that is why siku hizi walisukumwa at least wawekange ile disclaimer. Ukisikiza advert za gambling utasikia wakikuambia gambling is addictive nini na story kama hizo, because kuna wase wengi wamejimess. They went there. There's usually a relationship I like drawing between the trap of debt and gambling. There's a serious interconnection, a symbiotic relationship between the two, and it can start from either way. Kuna mse ameshikwa na madeni like where I was, and because of the pressure, people are calling, they want their money, and because you can't think of any other thing, kitu inakuambia mazee, ile jackpot nikiipata itanisaidia ku solve shida zangu zote na nitoke kwa hii mtego na nisonge mbele. So unaanza gambling pole pole tu, ukingoja ati jackpot itakuwa yako. Before you know it, gambling has a character of becoming addictive. Now, so huyu msee alianza madeni kwa na character ya kukulead kwa trap. So akakuwa trapped. Alafu ikamuliwa into gambling, hoping that atapata jackpot akuje akilie madeni. Akaingia kule. Huko akajikuta amekuwa addicted. So even when this person does not have money, they have to borrow some more. So it brings them back into the trap of debt even serious. Because akitaka kuacha hivi, something reminds him or her, maybe each chance next sasa ndio yake. Each chance next ndio yake. And before they know it, they have wasted themselves. They've wasted everything. Wameborrow all the abilities they had. They have some people, siku ya salo ikifika, inafaa madeni wako nayo inahitaji hiyo do ikuje kwanza imezwe na madeni, but because they are also gambling, hiyo do inaingia kwa gambling in the hope that wakishaingiza itazaa ingine mbio warudi wakilia madeni, and then so the situation becomes very complex. Some of them, as they try to escape from that reality, they find themselves in alcoholism, they find themselves in drug abuse. So sasa hiyo mtego inaendelea ikishika, because every time is getting complicated and complicated. Okay, so one of the things I do at the debt clinic tukikutana is that I want to understand the root cause, but I also want to gauge where you are. If there is a bigger thing pushing you into the trap of debt, I will not sit with you to resolve your debt problem. That bigger thing must be resolved. If it's alcoholism pushing you into excessive borrowing, unnecessary borrowing, then you have to deal with it first before we can progress. So hizo ndo vitu zilizochanganya vijana siku hizi. And then now, the lack of discipline, financial indiscipline. You see, discipline is the ability for you to say no where no is due. Wase wengi hutumia hii word discipline, but they cannot explain it. Unajua discipline ni one of the words we use every day. Ni kama respect. Lakini ukiuliza msee, maze respect ni nini? Utapata msee anatoa simu wa Google. Okay? Wengine wetu kwa shule tuliambiwa discipline is being at the right place, sijui at the right time, sijui doing the right thing and those things. But from a personal development perspective, I define discipline as the ability to suppress diversionary desires in order to pursue a bigger and better goal. The ability to suppress diversionary desires in order to pursue a bigger and better goal. That means, ukifocus macho yako kwa a better goal, there will always be diversionary desires. Kuna tu vitu tunakuja kukudanganya. Those things come to promise you instant gratification. Why should you wait saving money at hii dondo utatumia sijui kufanya nini December? So hapa katikati kuna tu voices tu ukuja tunakuambia boss, hii savings account yako unaweza ivunja tu uende out na wase. So those voices are promising you happiness now, gratification now. All right? So if you don't have discipline, you forget about the bigger goal. And now you focus on the instant gratification ambayo hizi voices zinakuletea. Right? So people who will go far financially must learn and cultivate financial discipline, self-discipline. Be able to say no to those diversionary desires because they will always come. Okay, hakuna mse amegraduate akasema haezi temptiwa na tu vitu. Tu ukuja. To everyone who is ever focused and looking forward to a better thing, kutakuja a thing or two that tries to tell you, hey boss, wachana na hii focus yako. You know you can do this and benefit now, right? Many times those voices are misleading. So vijana wengi hawana financial discipline. So every time ukiwaambia they need to retain part of the money they earn, hata wakianza wanajikuta shortly after they have started, to voices tukikuja weekend hivi hiyo account inavunjika, right? And that's why when I say a few things about savings, mi usema kama discipline yako bado iko chini, save your money where hauna ability ya kuiaccess mbio mbio, you get. So if it's putting it in an account, go to your bank and tell your bank to give you a dedicated savings account ambayo haitakuwa na ATM card, ambayo haitakuwa na connectivity to the phone. Because sometimes I ask people when I'm training staff members of companies, and I ask them, so how many of you are saving? And I see very many hands of people who are saving. And then I ask them, how many of you have the money they have been saving? Alafu naona mikono zinashuka chini. Because kuna watu wameshaweka hata standing orders za kusave. But kule pesa inaenda wameconnect pia to the phone. So pesa inaingianga kama wamebonyeza imetoka. So yes, you are saving, but you're not retaining the money. You're not keeping the money. So you're not even fulfilling the purpose for which you started savings. So vijana have a good opportunity. If they get it right from as early as possible, it is very okay for them because they can be able to do a lot of exploits financially kwa sababu wako na time. And someone who is watching us and probably ashawacha kuwa kijana, ameadvance kidogo, and maybe you're also struggling financially, I will tell you for free that it's never too late to start doing the right thing. It is never too late. I've been able to journey with the young people, the middle-aged people, and the old people. And I have seen people see breakthroughs even when they are old. Okay? One thing I usually say is that life does not have a script. Hakuna place you uenda. You know, sometimes you can hear people say, by this age, you need to have achieved this and this. By this age, you need to have achieved this and this. While that may apply to the majority or many other people, it is true that that is not a box that we can put everyone in. Kila msee kuna story yake. Kuna msee uona light at their own different time. Kuna msee ata watch hii clip na hiyo ndo siku yake anaona hiyo light. And probably even they have retired. I have had the opportunity to facilitate so many pre-retirement trainings for people nearing retirement. Na kama kuna kitu moja yo ni disturb, is someone nearing retirement telling me, I wish I knew this when I was young. So if you are listening to me and you are young today, just know you have chance, you have opportunity to mend your ways, to learn the right way of doing things, and just beginning to do the right thing. Now, if you are listening to me and you have advanced in age and probably you're giving up, thinking that age has run out of, out on you, and you think there's little you can do, probably just given up, unangoja tu life iende venye itaenda. Just know that you can also begin to run things, to change things now from where you are. Okay. I will never forget, I love teaching using stories quite a lot. I'll never forget a man I met who was in his 60s. And this is a man I really respect. But he has allowed me to use his story for example's sake in my illustrations. When I met this man, he had actually retired. Throughout his working period, hakuwa ameona light. So the guy was just doing life mpaka akaretire, and then nile tu umeretire, normal retirement, umerudi tu village, and really nothing big to show for it for the 30 plus years you've been working. And then this old man decided that he was not just going to continue suffering financially and doing nothing about it. And I remember he started a tiny business in the market. Alikuwa anauza snacks, sweets, nini nini kwa table fulani kwa soko. Okay? And that business took him at most 20K to set up. 20K is everything, including kuchomelea hiyo stand, stock, kukata zile permits za kanjo wherever he was and things like those. A maximum of 20 ikienda sana. That is from him. And then when I met him, I was his banker, and I remember him asking me if in future he wants to expand his business, what is he supposed to do? I gave him a few tips. I told him to make sure he's banking consistently. Na sijawahi ona mtu disciplined kama huyo jamaa. Huyo jamaa alitake everything we said very seriously. Every evening, kabla banki ifunge, alikuwa amefika. Whether ameuza 200 bob, 100 bob, anakuja ana deposit. And now I'm speaking to business people, because some of you go to lenders and you are denied loans and you don't know why you are denied loans, right? So part of the conversation I have in something I call using debt to grow your business is to also open your eyes to some of the things that would improve your credit worthiness if you are to borrow as a business person. And one of it is to ensure that your statement, how do they say it? Corroborates the story you will give by word of mouth. Kuna msee ataingia kwa bank, story yake ya mdomo ni very interesting. But when they log into the system to look at the statement, hawaoni kikubaliana na hiyo business. There is no way you will say you run a retail business, so you receive money every day. But when we go to your statement, you bank money twice in a month. It does not agree. So jamaa kaanza kuleta do every day, 100 shillings, 200 shillings, 1,000, depending on what he has sold. And you know, when you're a business person, no one stops you from depositing money today and withdrawing even the same day to go and buy stock. So after a while, I remember this guy qualifying for his first loan. And the first loan that was given to him was 50,000. Na aka expand. Nafikiri at that time the municipality where he was walikuwa wamejenga zile stalls sasa, so he was lucky to find one for himself, na that 50K ikamsaidia kuweka tu shelves nini na kuweka ka stock kakubwa kidogo, so akakuwa ametoka kwa meza sasa. So now that is scaling the business, na akaingia hapo. So he paid that loan. He did not finish actually the term that was allocated before iishe, alikuwa amemaliza. Juu ile siku ameuza vitu nyingi, anakuja anailipa haraka haraka. Then he graduated to 100, graduated. Then I moved out of that town and lost touch a bit. So one day I visited, and I visited to speak in where the bank where I had left him. That time I had quit employment. And I remember in the loan book of that particular bank, that old man was now servicing a loan of 1 million shillings. In the market, he had his stall. He had now gotten a bigger shop where he was now running a wholesale kind of business. Now he was the one selling on wholesale to the other upcoming hawkers, wale watakuwa wamebeba kwa wheelbarrow, wengine wamebeba kwa mabox and what have you. Now he was their wholesaler. A man who in his 60s, advanced in age, had every right to give up, like some of you who probably would want to give up because your age has advanced, and maybe umesikia wase wakisema ati ukishapita miaka fulani kuna kitu hauwezi fanya. Please, we don't have a script for life. You can begin to pick your pieces from wherever you are, right? And I just cut that story there, but there's a lot that we can learn from that story. So wacha tusi give up if we are advanced in age, ama una feel kuna vitu usha lose, ama time imekupita, or maybe you have lost a lot of things in the past. Okay, maybe madeni zilikufinya, you've been auctioned many times, until you've gotten to a point labda hata umerudi village ama give up to na life because you think life has not really been fair on you. The truth is you can pick your pieces again. Okay, and take it from me because I'm speaking to you from a point of experience. I'm not speaking from to you from a point of theory. I rarely teach theory. Babe, a lot of things I want to share are things that I have either walked through or things that I have journeyed with others or things that I've sat under people to learn from them. All right, and I know you have heard me speak about the things I call realities of money. I am very particular with, and those realities I created after I had spent time to observe how we behave around money. And I had been asking myself, how come tuna behave differently around money? Tutapata job the same time, earning the same amount of money, but 2 years down the line, ukivisit mse fulani unapata, hey, huu mse unatoka kwake, yani ukijizungumzia, yani huu msee difference ni nini? Ni salo moja ama huu jamaa kuna deals fulani yako nazo zenye hatujui. And many times it's just the way you organize yourself. And that's how I came up with the 7 realities of money. Of course, I may not be able to mention them now because of time, but they can be found on my YouTube channel, Coach Roy Okonji, like it's scrolling on your screen. Please subscribe and just tap into those conversations. But let me just mention one, because that one is a big weakness for very many people. And that is the reality of money number 4, where I say there is no small money. If there is one thing I hear many times, is people saying that their money is small. Vijana wengi, when they get employed, you know, they know they still have time, and they know that they're very ambitious that time. Kuna kijana ametoka college tu na macho yake imefocus, anatafuta salo ya 100 Gs. So jamaa akiitishwa, akipata chance ya ka internship ama ka entry level ka 15k, msee anaingia hapo anasema, mazee, hii do ni kidogo, yani there's nothing I can do with this. So jamaa hii do tu ni ya kukula tu because ni kidogo, asha declare. All right, and I usually say the moment you open your mouth to declare that your money is the smallest, you know, the average human being believes that their money is the smallest. And that's why utasikia wase wengi wakisema akaka pesa, akaka saloni kadogo, unajua uchumi siku hizi, and those things. Many times we kill our chances by our words. The moment you open your mouth to declare that my money is small, then you put a mental cap, a ceiling, because your mind can never give you great ideas that can be done with money that you've declared to be small. So wewe utakanga tu hapo, kwa kichwa yako kuna committee, akili inajiongeleshanga, inajiambia huyu msee alisema hii do yake ni kidogo. So akili kitaka kupea ideas inajikumbusha, huyu alisema do yake ni kidogo, so inatulia. Right? Inangoja mpaka ile siku utakuja uiambie sasa do yangu ni mob. And some people wait and wait and wait until it is too late, because they had money but they saw the money as very little. So they will grow, they will get promotions, they will get salary increments, but every time hiyo salary increment yo wapata wako ndani ya madeni. So hata akiongezwa thao kidogo juu ya salo yake, hafeel hiyo impact. Many people will actually use the increment to go and borrow more, probably to come and offset the debts they are in, vitu kama hizo. And that's how many people will go through life, get to retire if they are employed, or go through business, wanafika mahali mpaka wanaona biashara haiwasaidii, because every money that comes looks small to them. And when you have that mentality of saying your money is small, you don't really sit down to plan. You don't really sit down to tell yourself, ni nini naweza fanya na hii do, nijipange vipi ndio hii do itokee poa, iweze kunisaidia kufanya vitu mob. So I remind you tonight, or whatever time you'll be catching us through this video, that stop saying that your money is small. There is no small money. Of course, money will look small if you compare it with money of a bigger value. Money will look small if you spend it recklessly without a plan. Money will look small if you are trapped in debt. When you're struggling in debt, pesa yote ukaa ndogo, because pressure maze, pressure from all corners. Guys are calling you for their money. So every money that comes to you, unaona, maze, hii ni kidogo, because how do you work with it? Na kuna mse amengoja, kuna wase wamengoja hii do. And then I don't know how they usually get to know that sasa uko na do. When you don't have money, no one is bothering you. Wait until salo inakaribia, ama when ni msawa biz, ama kadil fulani kameivana, do inawekwa kesho, tusimu tunaanza kuingia leo. Boss, mazee ulisema, boss unikumbuke, sijui nini. By the time the money is landing tomorrow, you are confused, right? And some time back, there was another clip I did that was also trending. On how payday has become a very stressful day for people. Watu wengi huji convert into accountants siku hiyo ikifika, because wase wengi wanangoja uwapatie do, na ni wengi kuliko ile do imekam, because many people have overborrowed, so wame overdraw hiyo account yao, so pesa ikiingia ni kidogo, zile mikono zimengoja hiyo do ni mob. So end month ama siku do imeingia, even for people in business, ndo siku sasa msee anakuwa accountant. Unapata msee amejiscratch kichwa na kalamu na karatasi, ni mahesabu. You know, long time ago, payday used to be a very interesting day. Everyone used to look forward to payday. Everyone. And you could see it. Hata kwa street ukutana wasee, smiles, nini, conversations ukizisikia, ungeona, ungejua tu ni payday. Hata usipoambiwa, ungejua tu ni payday. And I like mentioning, when I was growing up, I was born and I was raised part of my young life in a tea factory, right? And in that place, I remember butcheries used to open the Friday around payday. So Friday just before payday, alafu na ile wiki itafuata, and then butchery inafunga, itafunguliwa tena end month ikifika. So you can imagine all of us are looking forward to that time, because butchery itafunguka and a lot of things will be happening. And people used to look forward to payday. Today, payday causes a lot of sleepless nights to so many people. Hiyo siku wase wengi wamechiu blackout. Si blackout ati wamekula kitu, ni blackout ya kujaribu kupiga hesabu haziingiani. Unachapa mahesabu, na hizi ni hesabu za kulipa wase, nitalipa aje hawa wase. So unapiga mahesabu, unapata at the end of the day the total is bigger than the income. Unarudi juu sasa, unaanza kupunguza by half. Unapunguza by half, ukichapa total tena imekataa kuingia. Unarudi juu sasa, this time unaanza kurationalize, unaanza kusema nafikiri Mose anaweza understand, ni muongeleshe turuke hii mwezi, yeye ni msort next month. So unaanza kurationalize, unafika mahali unasema lakini nani huyu haezi elewa, huyu apendangi ujinga, huyu lazima ni msort. So unaweka kasta hapo, unasonga, una rationalize, ukitotal zimekataa kuingia, so unapata msee amechizi. And this happens a lot these days, whether people are young, whether they are old, is because people have borrowed themselves into the trap of debt. Many people are living borrowed lives. Many people have lived their future today, and they've written their future today. Like I was mentioning, when you borrow for consumption, you are saying two things. And I remember I mentioned one. Now I want to mention the second one. So the first one I told you, when you borrow for consumption, you are telling us that you are not able to live within your means. Now, secondly, when you borrow for consumption, you are also eating your tomorrow today. So the big question is, what will you eat tomorrow when tomorrow comes? Because tomorrow usually comes. Forget this thing of kesho itajichunga, sijui what. Hiyo kesho mara nyingi upata wasee wanaangalia nyuma wanashindwa, haya, na kumbe ningejipanga different, today would be a different feeling. All right. So as I finish, Unajua hizi story ni mrefu, hatuwezi maliza in one sitting. Hizi conversations ni dunia nzima. But let me remind you something that might help you. Everyone is looking forward to plenty. Everyone dreams that one day they can have a lot of money. Everyone dreams that one day they can be wealthy. Everyone hopes and prays and works and tries just to ensure that one day they are moving closer to having plenty. Unfortunately, very few people sit down to ask themselves, what is the process that we need to go through for us to be able to make this wealth? Because you cannot talk of plenty and you stop talking of wealth creation. All right? It is not possible. So you have to start learning, how is money managed? How is money grown? Because wealth creation now helps you understand how to grow your money. So if you're operating from a negative, so you're trapped in debt, you must begin to understand how you can come to the surface before you start growing, because you cannot grow if you are in the negative. Many times I say that a trapped person admires a broke person, because brokenness takes you at zero, takes you to zero. You don't have money. Hauna do. But the trap of debt takes you to the negative. Hauna do, alafu kuna wasee wanakupush wapatie do zao. You get the difference. So when the two guys meet, this other trapped guy admires a broke guy. Utapata huyo msee asema, mazee wish ningekuwa tu broke. Sina do lakini hakuna msee ananisumbua nimpatie do zake. So, what is the secret? The secret is this. The money you make in your daily activities, whether it is salary or profit, that money a lot of times is what we call active income. It is income that comes in exchange for activity, for sweat, for expertise. You've woken up every morning to go to your shop, you've done things, or you've gone to your workplace, chap a job. At the end of the month, they will pay you in exchange for your skills, for your sweat, for your time. That money is active income. That money is supposed to start you off. It is supposed not only to sustain you, but part of it is supposed to be put aside to form seed for future multiplication. That is something I usually told myself, I wish I understood it long ago when I was just newly employed. Well, I figured out it is part of a conversation I usually hold called focused wealth creation. Is a model I developed to help show you how wealth is created. For wealth to be created, the money you receive from your activities, you have to be deliberate in planning yourself how you will use it for it to sustain you until you receive the next. But beyond that, you must pinch a portion and put it aside that you will call your own. The salary you earn, and I'm sure many of you saw that video that also trended where I was telling you that the salary you earn is not yours. Though it comes in your name, though it comes to your account, and many people say it is my salary, I have challenged and told you that money is not yours. You see, money you can call yours is money you can change your mind over. Unaweza amka useme, hii do nilikuwa nimepangia kitu fulani lakini nimechange mind, si ni yangu. I'm not doing it. I'm not using it to do this. I now want to use it to do this. But how will you say ati do ya landlord haumpay, ati umechange mind, hiyo do unataka kufanyia kitu ingine. So you try doing that for 4 months. Let's see how that will end. Ama do ya food, ati hii do ya food, kwa hii nyumba sasa food hatukuli, I've changed my mind. I want to use this money to do another thing. It will not work. Ati do ya school fees, ati sasa school fees hatulipi, ati hii do nimechange mind. So that means that money is not yours, because you don't have a choice over it. That money belongs to the landlord, to the school, to the supermarket, to people who give you services. So it's not your money. It is their money. So which one will be your money? Your money will be the money you deliberately choose to pinch and put aside. And that is how the conversation of savings begins to gain root. Because part of what you earn, and later on I came to also read from the famous book, The Richest Man in Babylon, when they're teaching about the principles of wealth creation. Principle number 1 says, a part of all I earn is mine to keep. All right. So once you earn your money, remind yourself that a segment of it, chuna weka kando before you start spending. If you have to save, you save before you spend. Many people have the temptation of spending and hoping that they will save what will remain. You will agree with me eventually that money refuses to remain to be saved. Okay? Wale pesa yao ukubali kubaki wa save watatuambia kwa comments kama pesa yao ukubali kubaki. But I have generally observed that money refuses to remain to be saved. So if you want to save, you must deliberately choose to pinch the money after it comes, weka kando. Ukishaweka kando, I will also come to disturb you and tell you there is nothing interesting in just piling money. Ati kila siku unaiangalia tu unafurahi, do yangu iko sawa. There's nothing interesting in that. Every coin needs to be sent to call for more coins, right? And that takes you to a process I call money multiplication. So whatever you have retained, you need to be focused and tell yourself, ikifika hapa, nataka kuituma iende imultiply, ifanye kitu fulani. All right. And once you're able to do that, then that takes you to investment. That's when you're sending money to go and call for more money to multiply. And when you send money to multiply, when you invest your money, you're expecting returns. So when you get returns, they go and add to the original income you had. This is just an overview of that model. It is a conversation that is huge. It's a conversation that will take us 2 hours if we are to go through it. I think I have a class on it on the 26th, on that particular Saturday. I usually have these conversations the last weekend of the last Saturday of every month from 8 to 10. That's a paid class, 500 bob. And then we have our usual lives from 3 to 4 every Saturday. So on the 26th of February, I think I'll be talking about wealth creation simplified. Okay, so I'll walk guys through that particular model step by step, so that then you can be able to understand how do you begin to use whatever you've been calling little, so that it can begin to make sense, to sustain you, and then you can begin to put aside, and then you can begin to send it to some place to multiply, and then it begins to bring you another income. That other income can be called dividends, can be called profit, can be called interest, depending on where you put it. And that process needs to be continuous and continuous. At some point you'll burn your fingers, but you don't give up on it. You wake up again and try. At some point inajipa na unasonga. As long as you're financially active, you have to be conscious about the conversation of managing your money, retaining your money, multiplying your money, and asking yourself, how can I make another coin? How can I make an extra coin? Another huge conversation. My brother, thank you so much. I wish we had the entire day, the entire week to talk about this, but I want to believe I've spoken to someone. I want to believe kuna mtu ameguzwa mahali. I forgot to give a disclaimer, my usual disclaimer that I usually give in my money conversations, that in the course of my conversation, I will pinch you not once, not twice. When I pinch you, don't take it personal, take it as a wake-up call. Tusikutane kwa barabara uniambie, hey boss, mazee ulikuwa unanidescribe. I have no clue what you're going through. We're just having a conversation to sensitize one another, to learn from one another, and that way then we start getting better and better. So like I always usually say, you can do better. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
This topic is very interesting. Sijui kama sasa, can you answer some questions from the guys wenye wako kwa
Yeah,
comment?
kama kunayo tunaweza brush nayo kiasi tuone ni aje.
Acha tuanze na wale kuna huyu Robert anasema excellent. Chepsoy anasema topic poa. Bernard anasema great advice. Toiti anasema great advice. Huyu anasema this is a topic anaweza fuata apart from my politics. Great advice. Natafuta swali. Great discussion from Eric Ombati. Very good from Zedi Mwachi. Huyu anasema mobile lending nowadays is a dangerous animal. Every day I'm getting the SMSs that I qualify for loans. Huyu anasema shukran kwa kukopa. I think ni ile ulikuwa umepewa zawadi.
Yes, yes.
Huyo anasema great advice, have been in the same position before, it's dangerous to be.
Mm-hmm.
And great advice, great advice, I think anasema it happened to his life. Huyo
Mm.
anasema that's what affected me too, but I stopped once I was paid a tender. Niliinua
Uh-huh.
mikono juu mimi na Mashailo, afadhali nikae bila. Huyo anasema great advice, this is what we need more than politics. Sawa sawa. Hello
Mm-hmm.
Mutembei, I've missed you my lovely brother, thank you. Mutembei, mbona ulinimo kwa WhatsApp group? Okay, utarudi.
Rudisha
Hello
jamaa,
Mutembei.
rudisha jamaa kwa WhatsApp.
Very educative. Huyu anasema I just watch Bernard every day but you are behind the cameras. I understand you are busy. Thank you for the good work.
Mm-hmm.
Glad God so loved the world that he gave his huyu
Mm-hmm.
anatusomea Bible. Huyu
Mm-hmm.
anasema you are an angel sent. Thanks for that good teaching which so many people are needing the current situation.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Reginald Garissa Royal Conch is here tackling serious topic.
Mm-hmm.
Mtembei tunangoja Bernard anakuja. How can one get the number of the coach?
Okay, okay, hiyo ni swali. Waandike hii namba mahali. It will come in handy at some point. Um, Sasa tuko international, si ndio? So
Yeah,
plus 254
plus
um,
254.
713 497172 plus
Good.
254 713 497172. Ukipiga na isishikwe, probably in a conversation, andika tu, remind me where we met, and then just write whatever it is, and I will surely get to it. If there is one thing I've not delegated, is attention to personalized messages, especially where people are talking about their situations. Hiyo nimeshindwa kudelegate because there's a way it's tied to the gift that I have. So nitaifikia. Sometimes it might take long depending, sometimes traffic zaumwagika, but I will surely get to it. Thank you.
Okay, and pia kwa YouTube channel wanaweza kupata kwa Coach Roy Okonji.
Yes, yes. YouTube channel Coach Roy Okonji, wa subscribe tuendelee kusoma tukisonga.
Okay, huyu anasema Akinyi anasema wow, you have made my Friday morning. Keep it up. You are great.
Thank you.
On the work always. Watching live. Good discussion on money. I love it. Um, Coach, unaulizwa your details. I think hizo tumepeana. So what of those in diaspora pia tumekupea is plus 254. I'm blessed. Unaweza call. Great discussion. Huyu anasema don't trust my family. Ile kitabu ya Babylon ulisema inaitwaje?
Hiyo kitabu ya Babylon inaitwa The Richest Man in Babylon.
The
That
richest
reminds,
man in Babylon.
yes, yes. That reminds me, I was to mention um, the books that I have published. There is a book called Relate Well, Live Well. Relate Well, Live Well. It's a book about the importance of relating well with people wherever you are and how that affects your success in different parts of your life. So the book will speak about relationships in a family setting, relationships in an employment or workplace setting, relationships in a business setting, and relationships in the social space. The second book is called Confronting Fear. You know that thing that holds you back. Every time you want to make a move, it reminds you that you're not well equipped. If you try, you will fail. They will laugh at you, and you obey, and you sit on your ideas, only for you to see other people thriving in the same ideas. Unashindanga tu ukisema mazee, hii idea ilikuwa yangu. In that book, I have described how the environment can put fear in people, how parents put fear in their children with all good intentions. I've talked about fear of failure, fear of the unknown, and how you begin to combat your fears when they come. The third book I wrote is called You Can Do Better. That is the only promise I have to the world, that you can do better. The only reason I agreed to come here tonight is because I believe we can do better. I strongly believe that you can do better. It is possible that your tomorrow can look better than your today and your yesterday combined. So just continue working and learning and just trying to make things happen. You can do better. The fourth book I wrote is an interesting book called Debt is Good Only If You Master It. So kuna wasee wengi wao usoma tu debt is good, alafu wameingia kwa madeni wakisema huyu msee alisema debt is good, lakini wanawacha hiyo bit ingine ya only if you master it. Okay. So you have to understand how debt works, and you have to make debt your servant, and you have to be the master of it, so that you send it out to work for you if you must use it. By the way, si lazima. Okay. Hizi stories za wasee kusema ati huwezi survive bila deni, mwanaume ni deni. The day you start burning your fingers, those people will not be there. Right. Then the next book I wrote is called Breaking Free from the Trap of Debt. It gives you a step-by-step of how you begin to break free from that particular bondage. And then lastly, is a book called Managing My Money. Managing My Money is where conversations need to have started. So in that book, I speak to your mind to help it get aligned. I show you how to create wealth. I teach you about practical budgeting. I teach you about practical savings. I show you how to make an extra coin, how to choose your side hustle if you are employed or you're even in business and you want another avenue. And then I also show you your enemies of financial progress in proper details. The one that is coming soon is called Financial Parenting. This one is speaking to parents. Many of us are crying that our parents did not talk to us about money. If we are not careful, our children are also going to cry tomorrow that we did not do anything to make them better financially. So this book is going to awaken parents and just show them practically how they can begin the conversation from where they are. So you can also be on the lookout. Part of the seminars I usually would have seminars on financial parenting, where I meet parents and just ignite in them the reality that if we don't shape our children by equipping them with proper money values and lessons, tomorrow we will forgive them when they start looking for shortcuts, when they start getting into crime, when they start getting into drug peddling, those things, because nobody told them how money is made. You had the chance, but you wasted that chance. Yeah, so thanks. Kuna kaswali hapo. What are the best investments in Kenya for people in diaspora? Hii swali ni kubwa. Unaona hii swali ni sentence moja, but it's a very big question. And the topic of investment is a standalone topic that is huge, but let me just answer it generally. Before you get to pick what you want to invest in, I usually advise that you have to answer yourself some questions. One, you need to answer yourself the question, why do you want to invest? What is it that is pushing you to want to invest? What is the reasoning behind you wanting to invest? The answer to that question helps you to filter out options that don't answer to that particular need. Okay. Do you want to invest so that you just secure your future? Are you looking for supplementary income because you feel your current income is not enough? So you want to invest your money somewhere where you can be getting periodic returns so that they can add on to the income you have? Are you thinking about the future of your children or your own future many years from today? Are you looking at investing so that maybe later on you have a home, you have a place to call you? What exactly is pushing you into wanting to invest? Number two, you have to understand your risk appetite. What kind of person are you? All of us have different risk appetites. Okay. Of course, generally it will be said that when you are young, your appetite for risk will be higher. That means you can be able to try investment options that would be more riskier than when you have advanced in age. largely because when you're still young, you still have the advantage of time. You can make more mistakes, burn your fingers, and try again and again because time is on your side, more than when you have advanced in age. However, while at it, we will still be different even when we are still young. Kuna mse ata burn fingers, kesho ameamka ako tu sawa. Kuna mse mwingine akilose hata one bob anafikiria hata kucommit suicide. You have to know your profile as a person. How much risk can you take? I often will meet people who will tell me that Mimi, I am looking for an option that will ensure that my capital is safeguarded. Okay, afadhali nipate returns kidogo, lakini pesa yangu nijue iko safe. Mse kama huyo huwezi mpatia options zile azi safeguard hii pesa yake. Kuna mse mwingine atasema yeye anaangalia returns. Okay, so umchapie options zile zinaweza mpromise return fulani, ako sawa pande ya returns, ako willing to take risk because of course utasikia wakikwambia the higher the risk the higher the return. That again does not mean kitu yote unasikia high risk unaingia hapo. That means ukiamua kuinvest kwa a higher risk avenue, make sure it has returns that can compensate for the risk. Not every risky venture will have high returns. So don't go there blindly just because people say the higher the risk, the higher the returns. So for people who are in diaspora and they're looking for investments in Kenya and they have answered those options, then they will find a lot of options. There will be a lot of options in the real estate. There will be a lot of options even in the government itself.
By the way, hapo kwa hao wako diaspora, Sami Kambui, if you want to get into real estate, ujue Mutembei TV, we are working closely with Optiven. Optiven is a company, is a land buying company in a selling pia furnished zinaitangwaje, houses, bungalows. You can buy from them. And if you trust watu wa kwenu, you can trust Mutembei hapa. Ulete story tukuchukulie manini huku, you come for it. We have so many plots. Kuna plot mingi sana. Kama leo we were live in Kitengela. Tukienda site viewing. Next week we are going to Narumoru. Narumoru, there is a place where we have a very big land there. It's almost finished by the way, over 60-something% imenunuliwa. So kama uko diaspora na unataka kuinvest Kenya kwa land and you are not trusting maybe your family members, kama vile niliona the first SMS hapa, just trust us and everything will go okay. So what do you think about land buying and investment properties, real estate?
It requires a plan. It requires some deliberate effort into it. Many people go into it blindly. Okay, many people. Unajua tumekuwa kwa society imetuambia from the onset that you can never go wrong with land. Your statement, I usually take it with a pinch of salt because there are things if you did or did not do, then you will still burn your fingers even with land. So land will not have a problem, but you will have a problem as you try to invest into it. For example, kuna mse alikuwa na pesa yake ya emergency, pesa ya ile ya rainy day, okay? Then aka-invest kwa shamba. You see, and this is money that you put aside just in case mambo iharibike, like what we saw when COVID hit, right? So you'll be having a piece of land, but you can sleep hungry because you did not place it correctly. Higher, there is a guy, because he or she does not want to be left behind. Hata yeye anataka ashike kaplot kake, okay? Now, instead of approaching a company like Optiven, like you've mentioned, and just sitting down with them and asking them, these are my circumstances, okay? Nataka shamba, naweza lipa hivi na hivi comfortably. Unapata huyo msee maybe alikuwa na tu savings kidogo but hatutoshi, so anaenda ana book plot, And then kwa sababu ya pressure ya repayment, because they did not actually discuss anything that was comfortable to them, anakimbia kuchukua deni fulani very expensive. I have very many cases of people whose financial struggle started because they were trying to invest in land or in a house. Those two things look very good. We can clap for you, but you messed as you are trying to go for it. So if you are keen, then those options become very good, because as long as you ensure you're not burning your fingers as you get into it. Of course, due diligence must be done, and that's why it works good to work with trusted brands. It works good to take your time to do due diligence. It works good to take your time to find a plan that works for you. So ukisikia msee anapeana shamba hapa na anasema deposit ni 50k, the remaining balance should be paid in 3 months. Wewe 50k umesave for a very long time. Unachukua shamba ya $500,000 na unasikia wanasema balance should be cleared in 3 months. But just because you have 50k na wewe utaki kuachwa nyuma, unachukua 50k yako unadunga, unashikilia. But now the remaining balance, 450 divided by 3 is 150 per month. Unaenda kutoa wapi? You see, so tuko na blunders ndogo ndogo kama hizo ambazo eventually msee akishazipitia, ukikutana na huyo msee uko mwisho atakwambia mimi stories zangu na mashamba na manyumba nimewachana nayo. But when you dig deeper you realize the problem was not with the land, the problem was not with the house, the problem was with the approach. Okay, so yo utaka msee take time ajielewe kwanza yeye mwenyewe, what is it that can work for them, what do they need right now, then after hizo options zina answer to their needs, and that can also help safeguard their comfort even in repayment where they are repaying in installments. And then usikuwe na haraka, you know, the rush to also belong, the rush to also say I also have a piece of land, I also have a house, and things like those. Take your time, understand where you want to invest, understand what happens around there. If it is real estate, what are the prospects in that particular area? If it is land, whether it is just virgin land or land you're just buying maybe for your own future use or for speculation, especially kama ni speculation, take your time to understand prospects zikoaje hiyo area, and when do you look forward to probably wanting to utilize the land, because kuna wasee pia leo ameshika pesa anajiambia next year hii shamba nimesikia next year itakuwa triple, so anadunga hapo, na hii ni pesa tight itatakikana exactly in maybe a few months time or 1 year's time. So hope yake ni kwamba akibuy hii shamba leo $500,000, after 12 months hii pesa itatakikana, ana hope itakuwa pengine imedouble, imekuwa 1 million, achape kill. I have to remind you that the process of wealth creation requires patience a lot of times, in fact all times. Okay, so mi husema on all investment platforms or options, all of them can work, but you just have to know to answer those questions that I said, so that then you are clear on what it is that works for you. Usifuate tu wind, don't just, because you might even do a good thing when rafiki zako mmeenda mmefanya, they are happy because it is answering to their need. Wewe unashangaa mazee hii ilikuwa mess. Ushaona wase walienda kuinvest place moja, but mwingine analia na mwingine amecelebrate, yani mazee, this is the best decision I ever made. It's because one of them took time to understand what they needed and went for what worked for them. Another one followed. Okay, so hakutaka watu pia yeye akadunga hapo, na pengine hiyo do alidunga ndio kila kitu, anatarajia auze after 1 year. Shamba yenyewe ukitaka kuuza after 1 year, unajua shamba si maembe, utasimama hapa unaanza kuambia wase bei ya jioni ndio hii na hivyo. So sometimes it can take long if you wanted to dispose, so it has to go with your goals, and that way then you begin to see real estate for what it is. From our Kenyan perspective, we still have prospects, great prospects in that particular space. Of course, there are times when mambo stories za mashamba tumezipeleka, ma prices zikaenda, but for someone who has patience, they know hata kama imeenda sana place fulani, you can also go and pick another place ukuje nayo, unacheki. So sometimes place wewe ulikuwa unafikiria shamba imefika 2 million plot moja, you don't have 2 million, but kuna place ingine ni place inakuja, unasikia shamba zinatangazwa huko hata 200,000. Okay, si ushike hizo, especially if you wanted for speculation. Si ushike hizo alafu utulie, sahau, alafu ipatie time. Okay, in the fullness of time, siku moja una visit huko unasikia haya, because many times when I sit with people who have harvested from real estate, wengi wao uniambia, unajua kaka plot nilibuy, tulikuwa tunauziwa sijui pesa ngapi and I forgot about it, nikawachana nayo. Juzi nimeenda sasa bei zimefika place fulani, you know those things. So patience is key when you want to play in the real estate space. Patience both in ukisha nunua utulie ungoje, ama pia the process even of acquiring, usikimbie kimbie mbio mbio. Some companies will wake up tomorrow, give you very nice prospects and promises, umwage pesa hapo, kumbe ni wewe umewasaidia na hiyo story ifike hapo, ungoje title, miaka nenda miaka rudi, pigane vita, wafunge shop and so many of those things. So that is what I would say for now, but it's a conversation that we might revisit some other time so that we give it the attention that it requires.
Okay, naona Nchaki anasema if you're in diaspora I recommend investment in real estate.
Ya
Then
kwanza wa diaspora, unajua kama bado wako huko, hiyo patience inawasaidia, after all wako huko mbali, so by the time they come, things have changed, appreciations here and there and things like those. Now teach them how to get out of the miserable borrowing. Nafikiri tutaunda siku tutaongelelea how to
tutatengeza siku because as we speak there are so many Kenyans wenye wako kwa madeni sahi. Sasa mtu mwenye ako kwa deni sahi, the simplest advice yenye unaweza mpea ni gani? Mwenye anajificha akiona watu wakitokea, anapigwa simu hapa na pale nini, how can you advise such a person?
Usually it will be a process. You know, I have to call it for what it is. It will be a process. The model I usually teach starts with acceptance. So you cannot treat a problem whose existence you still deny. So as long as you still borrow to show us that you're still afloat, to show us that you're still doing well, to show your family that you can still provide and maintain the level where you have lied to them that that's where you are, you're still in denial. For as long as you still blame it on other people, right? Where you are today, your struggles, you still blame it on other people, you're still in denial. And when you're in denial, you will fight any chance to try to work on your situation because you have justifications, right, here and there. So it has to start with acceptance. At acceptance stage, unaongelesha akili yako, because akili kisha buy into something, then you are ready to get to the battle ground. So you have to accept, for example, that where you are is not the best place you need to be. You have to accept that your former ways of managing your money were not the best. You have to accept that you are responsible for where you are today. You have to accept that it is doable, it is possible for you to turn the situation around, because it is true, it is possible. You have to accept that it is going to be a process. It's not an overnight thing. It's not an event. You have to accept that you are the best person to make that change. And you have to accept that that the best time to start that journey is today. So you're now speaking to your mind. And then after that, then you move to a step I call disclosure. Disclosure is where you sit down and write a list of everyone you owe. You know, you have to come clear to yourself first. You have to see yourself naked and not ashamed, at least to yourself first. So sit down and do a listing of everyone you owe. Everyone. Okay, kila mtu, banks, individuals, mpaka airtime advance. If you have airtime advance, do a listing of all of them. What I discovered is that the average human being is not comfortable writing down a list of the people they owe. Okay, but I also discovered some magic when you do that particular listing, because ukishaona hiyo list, many people get shocked. Is because your usual brain will only pick big figures. So when I ambush you and ask you madeni zako ni gani, you will mention the big ones and you will forget what you consider small. Many times the small ones will shock you. Okay, so sit down and do a list of everyone you owe. Okay, because that is where the conversation will start from. Ukishaona hiyo list sasa, ndo utaanza kujiuliza, so how do I go about this? Huyu na huyu nimfanyie nini? And then you can start engaging some strategies. Reach out to your lenders, explain yourself to them, renegotiate where it is possible. You can renegotiate to lower the repayment amount. You can renegotiate to stop interest. You can renegotiate to reduce interest. You can renegotiate to change the repayment cycle. Maybe you are paying weekly and now you only get money monthly, so you negotiate to change that particular one. You also look at your budget and see where your money goes. There are some places where your money goes, probably you could stop and rechannel in this other place. There are some places where your money goes, probably you need to reduce the extent to which you spend money in those particular things. There are some things you will need to pause, to suspend until normalcy has come back. Then you can continue indulging in them and things like those. Sometimes there are some things even around you. Some people have duplicated things in their houses. Some of them, they're not being used. They can sell and help themselves clear one or two mobile debts here and there. So there's a long raft of strategies that we get to look at when we start the strategy of breaking free from the trap of debt. Like we said, I think we will make time, God willing, in the days to come, so that we can do justice to that particular conversation, and then we see how that can go.
Yeah. Hiyo ni topic. I think tutakuja uongelele hiyo. That is what Kenyans sahi wanahitaji, because watu
Yes.
hizi vitu unaona kama Ruto akitaja Fuliza, sijui Tala, sijui nini ile ingine, banks role, mobile mshwari, sijui all of those things. Wakenya wako na madeni mpaka hawaeleweki. So it's good kuja na hiyo topic, at least tuongeleshe wale wataona, wengine watashare the message to other people. At least wale ukijua mtu ako na deni lako, utakuwa unachukua link hapo unamtumia, aelewe kwanza he or she has to accept that ako na shida and he has to deal with that problem ya debt, because hii inafika mahali inakuwa very addictive. Naona Jackson anasema today we are not politicking. Jackson, kuna studio ingine ya pili, unaweza funga hapo uende kwa hiyo studio ya pili, politics iko huko na Bernard. Mimi niko hapa for serious business. The richest man in Babylon. Hivyo ndio nini inaitwa the book.
Ile kitabu, hiyo kitabu inaitwa hivyo.
Na unaambiwa hapa Njiru, unaambiwa open the other studio. Bernard is in the other studio. Mutembe, you want politics? Watu wanapenda politics sana.
Yeah, in this season in this season lazima watu wachemke kiasi.
Yeah, Bernard is in the other studio. Nafunga hapa tu, then utaenda uende kwa live event niko next. So the next topic tumesema ni about how watu watajitoa kwa zile madeni already wako nazo.
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Already we are past 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Yes. I'm actually jumping into something else. Thank you so much for having me.
Exactly. Your final ones ukimalizia.
My final words will be my usual financial punchline. For you to go far financially, you must be willing, you must be ready, you must be bold enough to make unpopular decisions. Decisions that don't follow the wind, decisions that are not made for you to look like others, decisions that are not made for you to, with fear of you being left behind. Be your own person. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you. Acha ukitafuta hiyo topic nyingine ukijipanga vizuri, just call me anytime.
All right.
Tukuje kuja tuongelesha watu hapa. I know today umetouch so many people. At least watu watapunguza kuchukua madeni.
Sawa sawa.
Thank you so much and good night, bro.
Good night, sir.